So for the last 7 years of my life, I've been editing photos on almost a daily basis, and in this video I want to share with you some of the biggest mistakes I see people make over and over again that absolutely destroys photos. Plus, we'll also be diving in depth into each of these errors, meaning that you get a deeper understanding, so by the end of this video, my friend, you'll know exactly what to avoid and how to do it. Alright, so let's start with the crop. Why is it so important and how can you improve it? You see, one of the biggest mistakes when editing pictures is overcropping or simply just improper cropping. So basically, when you're cropping a picture, you're not only changing its size, but you're also making it look better by cutting off any part that, you know, aren't needed. So here you have to think about what and where the subject is, because you want to isolate it to make it stand out. You will also have to think about on what platform and or what type of medium your photographs will be consumed in. And then another mistake I often see, and this is especially true with landscape photos, is when the images are all, you know, totally crooked. Obviously, there are exceptions to this rule and you should really create whatever the hell you want to create, but crooked images are really easy to fix in post by just, you know, cropping in a little bit and then straightening them out. The second mistake I see people make is over-sharpening, and this is arguably one of the biggest mistakes I think that you can do. You see, sharpening is when you make a picture clearer and more detailed. You also use it to fix blurring issues and just make the subject and the overall picture just, you know, pop. But as with all things in life, then, you know, doing it too much has a few negative effects. For instance, one is that you will be highlighting the subject features way too excessively. You'll also be boosting the noise and producing artifacts, halos, and just make the overall photo look, how to say it, like too digital and not good, you know. And you know what, this might come as a shocker, but this also applies to the clarity slider. Now, how can this be fixed? No, in all honesty, just do it a little bit less. But a little tricks that I do, that I either, you know, sharpen the image locally with a brush tool, then I just brush in the subject and then I sharpen just that image, or with the sharpening tool you use the masking and you do not sharpen the entire image, but you drag the mask up and sharpen the specific areas of the image. And then one, like the biggest rule, I think, in my opinion, and something you should do too, is that once you find a level of sharpening that you think is nice and you think like, whoa, this looks actually pretty good, then dial it down by 10%. All right? Trust me on that and you're gonna be good, okay? Alright, so the next tip is something that I've been guilty of many times. I've been guilty of all of these, you know, mistakes multiple times, but this one is especially true, you know, and it's making the eyes way too bright. So here in Lightroom, to sharpen the eyes, all you have to do is to click the mask up here and then click plus, and this is so good with Lightroom nowadays. You can click select people and the entire person, you get the masks. And here we just have to go to, you know, we just go the iris and pupil for the sake of this tutorial, and all you're doing really is just opening up the exposure a little bit. And a few cool tricks too here is that I like to go with the contrast tiny bit, and then up with the whites a little bit too, and then with the clarity. And another cool tip also is that with the temperature slider, you can actually like push it down a little bit here to make the eyes more blue, or if you want to go yellow, if that is something you like. But here it's so easy to overdo it. Just for instance, like go with the exposure slider way too much, you're like, wow, this looks so good. I'm like really making the eyes pop out, and make the blue slider way too blue, and all of a sudden you look at a photo that just looks like this, where it's just like, yeah, okay, your eyes are super bright, we get it. So don't overdo it, just do it a tiny bit. Now, while we're talking about portrait photography, then the next mistake I see people make way too much is making the teeth way too wide. Don't do it. Just for instance, you can see with the mask here, we will click people and then we can actually see the teeth. All right, we create the mask, and here you can like make them a little bit brighter. You can even make them a tiny bit to the yellow. No, not yellow side, that does not look good. Don't go there. But a tiny bit on the blue side to make them a little bit whiter. But again, it's so easy to go overboard here. Just like, come on, we all see this. Look ridiculous. So it's all about moderation, you know, just do it a little bit and it will make them pop. And then another mistake I see people make often is something that you should avoid at all costs, is that when you're editing people and you're editing the skin of the people, don't make the skin look too plastic. I know it's very tempting to make it like softening the skin, making it look beautiful, and there's like some stupid filters out there on Instagram and TikTok, especially women are using, that makes the skin just so plastic. It's just like that, it doesn't look good. I'm just gonna tell you right here. Another mistake I see people still do is too much fade. Now, this used to be such a popular look back in the day. Basically, photographers are creating this S-curve and then erasing the blacks, making them not black. And believe it or not, there is like a limit to how much you can do it. Now, another mistake I sometimes see is oversaturation. So let's dive into it and a few tricks on how you can avoid it. You see, the saturation is what makes the colors in your photo like more intense or less intense if you make it less, you know. And when a picture has good level of saturation, saturation, it looks bright and really vibrant. But if you put too much saturation, the colors just look crazy, and the skin colors look like somebody's been tanning, you know, way too much. So be careful not to overdo it. And this can be easily avoided by simply just then manipulating the individual colors in the HSL sliders instead of just, you know, moving the entire sliders and like affecting all the colors at once. Also play around with the vibrancy and not just saturation. That's a great slider as well. If you want to know the difference between vibrancy and saturation, I have a little short, I'll link it up here. And then my biggest tip here, and this has to do with all of the tips that I talked about, is that once you've edited the photo, take a little break from the screen. Leave it. It can't be just for 10 minutes or half an hour, but just step away from it and not look at it, because when you come back, you have fresh eyes to look at the screen, and you might see like, whoa, wait a minute, that was way too much. So now that you've understood some of the most critical mistakes that you should not be doing, then you absolutely have to take a look at this video right here, where I go over 7 tips in Lightroom that you absolutely need to know about.